Welcome to Madness to the Method, and to another review. Today is the Nikon D200. Today's entry-level DSLR cameras are perfectly capable of producing professional quality images, assuming you are marginally competent at least as a photographer. If you are watching this channel, I assume that you are. However, anyone who knows their way around cameras isn't going to be fooled when you are trying to present yourself as a working professional and are applying for jobs that you may or may not be qualified to shoot. A base model Nikon or Canon with its issue kit lens, for example, or worse, anything in micro four thirds, just screams to anyone who's looking, I am new at photography and have no fucking idea what I'm doing. As photographers, we need to understand that our optics are important. And by optics, I'm not just talking about camera lenses. Rather, in this context, I am referring to how the potential clients with which we intend to interact perceive our competence as photographers. Understand that a large professional-looking camera and lens outfit, whatever its type, carried on your person, signals to a potential client that you are a serious and capable photographer. The point that I am driving at is that if you want to get paid as a professional photographer, looking the part helps.
Which brings us to the Nikon D200 DX format 10.2 megapixel single lens reflex camera, which we are reviewing today. The D200 was considered a professional camera at the time of its release in November 2005 and is built to professional standards. Indeed, many working pros would use it as either their primary or backup body, and some probably still do today. I keep it as an emergency backup. It sat in the Nikon's lineup between the hugely popular D70S and the flagship D2S. Apart from being a Nikon, of course, the D200 has very little in common with the predecessor, the D100, which was based on the film era F80, which was an enthusiast camera. The D200 was based on the F6, a professional camera. Did I say D6 or F6? F6. Just so you know. Now the D200 is similar in dimensions to the D70S and the D100 and F6, but it is metal instead of plastic. It's quite a bit heavier and a lot more solid. The D200 was succeeded by the D300 in August 2007. The body is constructed out of magnesium alloy and is plenty tough enough to survive the rigors of professional use. Indeed, this is probably one of the toughest cameras I've ever owned or used. The grips and exposed surfaces are, of course, wearing the usual rubber gimp suit. In the hands, the superior build quality is apparent. The camera is weather sealed throughout, and it will withstand all but the most adverse conditions. I mean, just don't go dropping it into the water or an active volcano or whatever. You're going to be just fine. All the D200's primary exposure controls are easily accessible while holding the camera in the shooting position. On the top deck, exposure compensation, we have the mode button, which controls aperture, shutter, program or pussy mode if you like, and manual. There we go. Easy peasy done. It is that easy. Of course, on the other side we have the three kings buttons: quality, ISO, white balance, and all the shooting modes. We have single, continuous low, continuous high, timer, and mirror up. And by the way, there is no video on this camera. I'm not going to say that it predates video, but no, DSLRs didn't have video at that time. Where was I? Card takes a single compact flash. There we go. One compact flash, because even professional cameras back in the day had one slot, as far as I'm aware. But it did have this cool little lever which popped the door open, whereas the later ones just slided. It's not quite as cool, I think. Also the largest LCD screen on pretty much any Nikon that I've ever seen. I think maybe the D300 has a similar size screen, but mostly they're smaller. But that's just as well. You can see plenty well all the shooting information that you need to see. Of course, mode, shutter speed, aperture, how many shots are left on the card, battery life, which is, and of course which focus point you're using. So that's pretty pretty well easy to see, and you can see it. I don't know if you can see the light because of the damn ring light, but oh well, it does light up. All of them do. On the front, this is nice. This is one feature I really like on camera, is the stop down the aperture button, and down below there's a customizable function button to do whatever you need to do. Just go into the menu and set it. What are we doing this time? I really should stick back of the camera. Back of the camera we have this lovely 2.5 inch 230k dots screen to see all your lovely pictures. Back in the day it was considered bright and sharp because the previous D7s had a much smaller screen, but of course it's woeful compared to today's cameras, but still usable enough. You can see you've taken a photo. You can even zoom in a bit. That's about, I don't know, 50% of the zoom. But you can program the rocker switch to focus peak, so the camera is still useful. Easy peasy done. Power is supplied by a lithium-ion ENEL3E, which of course gives about 420 shots per charge. Or if you got the optional D200 battery grip, it'll take 2 for extra shooting. In any case, you should be keeping extra batteries on hand, just because these batteries are old now and they tend to die quite quickly. But you can get aftermarket batteries. But even if you can't, well, you've got the AA battery holder which slots into the D200, and you can just keep shooting. In an emergency, that'll work just fine. Say you're shooting a wedding in the country and all your batteries are dead, but the only ones you can get are AA's. Well, there's your solution. At least you've got a usable camera. If you're getting paid for a job, you've got to shoot and you've got to make the camera work, so that helps. Pentaprism, of course. This is why we shoot DSLRs. There's a 0.94 magnification and you've got 95% screen coverage. The viewfinder is clear and easily usable even if you wear glasses. We have 11 focus points which are easy to see in the frame. Only one of them, the center, is the cross frame type. You can even get grid lines, but you've got to go into the menus to get them. There we go, where we got the image size, raw, look at that, all sorts of lovely things. I don't know. I'm sure you can get there somewhere. Here we are, shooting display. Viewfinder display. Grid display. There we go. Off. Yeah, easy peasy. Now the main feature of the camera is the 10.2 megapixel CCD sensor, which is the ICX483AQA type made by Sony. Yeah, go figure, it's made by Sony. But at least it's unique to the D200. It offers very smooth tonal graduations and almost Leica-like in its rendition, especially in monochrome. In fact, it's very similar to the Leica M8, though it's not exactly the same sensor because the M8 is slightly bigger dimensionally. But they're both CCD sensors and they both render very similar. In fact, it's more like the older black and white films back in the day, rather than the more contrasty CMOS sensors that we have today. The only real weak point that I consider the D200 has is the sensitivity range. This is limited to ISO 100 right through to ISO 1600. Now it does expandable up to ISO 3200. Yeah, I know. Wow, heady stuff back in the days. But the camera's really not usable above, say, 400, 500. Use it, well, up at around 1000 you start getting noise artifacts in your images, so unless you want to waste a lot of time in post-process, just don't shoot below 400. Just don't shoot above 400 and you'll be fine. Now, as I said, many of these D200s were used by working pro photographers. Many of them, they're still in good working order if you find them second hand, are going to look absolutely beat to shit. Don't let this deter you though, because despite its age, the Nikon D200 is still a tough, capable unit and an astounding bargain. You can pick up betas for $80 to $100, or a nice, minty, barely used one like this, which only has 4,400 actuations on it, for about $250 to $280. Now, if you are an aspiring professional shooter, or maybe one of your kids are, the D200's entry-level price is going to provide a very valuable learning tool to hone the photographic techniques, and also, I think, to build a muscle memory in your hands, so that when you transition to later more capable Pro Nikon bodies, it's going to be a lot easier for you. So this is very similar, for example, to my Nikon D800 in the way the layout is done and the way it feels in the hand, which is of course the entire point. And even so, it still makes wonderful photos. As a photographer, you are aware, at least should be, that your vision, your talent, and the body of work that you produce as a photographer is vitally important to your success. The quality of your photography is not going to be any worse with this camera, the Nikon D200, than any other DSLR. You as a photographer are who makes the pictures. The camera is merely a tool that you use. If you're not satisfied with your photographic output, then you could try spending your money on photography classes and learn how to be a better photographer, or at least go outside and take some photographs. If you can't make good images in the D200, a much newer camera isn't going to help you. 10 to 12 megapixels in a camera are perfectly capable of producing large prints, enough to satisfy all but the most picky client. In any case, most of the photographs taken today are only ever shared on social media anyway, where they're compressed and downsized. So the difference in resolution between the D200 and more modern cameras, especially if you're posting on Instagram or Facebook, is completely irrelevant. This is a camera that will take far better photographs than you or I are able to discern the difference between in real photography situations in anything other than static test charts. Of course, people whose livelihoods depend on selling you brand new camera gear are going to tell you otherwise, but you don't have to worry about that. The Nikon D200. That's been my review. If you find a good one, don't hesitate. Just get it. I hope you enjoyed the video, as crappy as it's been. Please like, share and subscribe and help the algorithm so it can encourage me to make more and better videos in the future. And have a good day.